Here's what I did before making this video.
I was at home watching K-pop videos when suddenly I felt useless and pathetic because I just spent 2 hours watching 4 girls say. I needed some sort of confirmation that I was still wanted and loved in this world. So I called my mom. She didn't pick up. She never does. So I needed a new way to feel validated. My next best thing, my data science skills. I needed to feel wanted, so I revamped my resume, brushed my hair, and applied to all these data science analytics positions. I whispered to myself, "Tell me you want me." I quickly learned that it takes more than 20 minutes to get an interview, so I unbrushed my hair, took my pants off, and went to bed. Soon, the interviews started flowing in. 1 phone call, 2 phone call, 3 phone call. Rejection. You win some, you lose some. I started getting on-site interviews. 1 on-site, 2 on-site, 3 on-site. At every interview, I whispered to them, "Tell me you want me." Some did, some didn't, but I had what I need. I'm validated. And here is what I learned from all these interviews.
Ooh, baby, on that track, I'm going vroom, vroom. Try and catch me when I pull up in that zoom, zoom. Oh, no.
So for the technical interview, this is basically just a simple SQL or SQL question, or it can also be a simple coding question like Python or something. And the reason why they ask you this question is to make sure that you know how to write queries, because you're going to be doing a lot of that on the job. And also if you can work with a simple program, if you could write simple programs, nothing too complicated. Now, not gonna lie, this part of the interview or this interview is probably going to be the easiest out of the data science analytics position. So let's see if you can solve one of these questions. Here's an example.
So here you have a table called publisher info that has all the information about a publisher and the videos they publish. And then you have the consumption info where you have all the information of user consuming a single video. So 2 questions. 1. How many minutes worth of video does an average publisher have? 2. How many publishers have at least 1 user who watched their videos? I'll give you 10 seconds to finish. TikTok, 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 TikTok. So here's the answer.
Obviously, in a real interview, there would be more follow-up questions since it's an hour long. But let me show you how I studied for it.
I locked myself in a room and opened cracking the coding interview and finish all the questions until chapter 5 or until I feel like puking. After that, I go to all these websites to practice SQL questions. And of course, I go on glassdoor.com to see if I could find any juicy leaked questions.
The math interview, or sometimes they call it the quantitative interview. This one is quite simple also because they just ask you some simple probability questions or some simple descriptive statistics question. So here's an example.
Joma takes an STD test and the test is advertised as being 99% accurate. If you have the STD, you will test positive 99% of the time. If you don't have the STD, you will test negative 99% of the time. If 1% of all people have this STD and Joma tests positive, what is the probability that Joma has this disease? I'll give you a few seconds to answer this question. TikTok, 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 ding! So the answer is 0 because you have to get laid to get an STD. Anyways, the right answer is 50% and you have to use Bayes' theorem.
So if you went to college and you listened during your freshman year, these concepts should be pretty familiar to you. But then again, that's only if you remember them. So here's a list of things that they would ask you about. So like conditional probabilities, Bayes' theorem, binomial distribution, normal distribution, descriptive statistics, and like understanding the law of large numbers, central limit theorem, and linear regressions. So if you understand these concepts, that's pretty good and you should be fine. And then for me, I wasn't fine because I didn't listen. So what I did to study for that, I went back to my old textbooks, read some of these chapters, and then refreshed my memory. And then also I did some practice questions, especially for probabilities, because sometimes it's a little bit tricky. It's almost like a brain teaser. So you just gotta practice just like coding. The product interview. Now this is a little bit subjective, but it's important to get right. They will ask you a hypothetical product and how you improve it. And then they will also ask you what metrics would you track to measure its success. Also, they're going to give you situations where there are trade-offs between metrics and you have to argue which one is best for the product. It's not always black and white. We just want to know how well do you work with data in a product's perspective. So it's kind of hard to give you an example of a question because usually it's like a back and forth and a conversation. So here's an example of what the interview will look like.
Alright, so as you know, Not Vine is a platform where users can share 6.1 looping videos as seen in the startup series, and it's basically a feed of content you follow. Now, imagine we are considering launching a share button where you can share someone else's video and it will show to your followers. How would you evaluate this change? What metrics do you expect to change? And how will you decide to launch it or not? Well, we can do an experiment rollout to only a few publishers first and then A/B test it. So for some users, they see it, and for some, they don't see the shared post. That way, we can see the difference in consumer behavior. For example, inventory will probably go up because of that. We will see if it increases video watch time per person and if it increases retention from users with this feature. We also have to make sure it doesn't cannibalize the original content. So even if they have more video impressions, we want to see if the view per impressions didn't decrease too much, which can mean they don't care about the shared videos. We can also run surveys to survey them if they enjoy watching this shared content.
So product questions are like that, but usually with more follow-ups and more deep dives, but you get the gist. So obviously this is a generalizations of all the data science interviews I've had. Some are harder, some are easier. But if you were able to answer these questions, your chance of getting a data science job is higher with statistical significance than if you weren't able to answer these questions. By the way, this video was sponsored by Brilliant.org, which is kind of cool because I actually used Brilliant.org when I was applying to my Untitled large company, since the company gave me links to help me prepare for my interview, and one of the links that they gave me is a bunch of combinatorics questions, aka probability questions, on Brilliant.org. It really helped me on the math part of the interview because I was killing the probability questions. I actually find it really fun to crank out these questions. It makes me feel good about myself and keeps me sharp, and they're good brain teasers for interviews, especially for data science or quant. Very good supplement to my interview preps, so highly recommended. Also, if you're in school, you could supplement your learning by using this website because there's a wide variety of topics, which is pretty dope because I love the UI on the website and it makes studying so much more fun with their quizzes. If you're interested, there's a link in the description down below. Best of all, you can get 20% off their premium subscription, so you can kill it at the interview for the large Untitled company. Alright, hope you enjoyed this video. I gotta go now because I have to figure out how to make food because my roommates are gone. I've been eating Cheetos for like the past 2 days. But yeah, anyways, see you next time. Peace!
We've been acting out for days, nothing to deny.
I'm a beast!